obedience is not always enforced with chains. Sometimes it's handed to you dressed as comfort. You weren't born afraid to speak. You weren't born afraid to choose. You weren't born to ask for permission. You were taught to. They taught you that compliance is virtue. They trained you to fear rejection more than regret. They gave you rewards for being agreeable, not for being awake. And so you learned. You learned to lower your eyes instead of raise your voice. You learned to smile when something felt wrong. You learned to follow rules that no one ever explained, only enforced. Not with force, but with silence, with exclusion, with the unspoken threat that if you step too far outside, you will be labeled, dismissed, erased. That's how it begins. Not with violence, but with slow erosion. Not with war, but with whispers. Society doesn't need prisons when it can train you to fear your own freedom. It doesn't need walls when it can convince you that obedience is love, that submission is peace, that being good means never questioning what good even means. This is how obedience is manufactured. They give you a script. Be polite. Be quiet. Be normal. Get a job. Chase status. Don't ask too many questions. Don't rock the boat. Don't outgrow the system that raised you. Because if you do, you will scare them. And if you scare them, they will try to shrink you. You'll be told you're arrogant. You're too much. You're ungrateful. You're rebellious. You're dangerous. Not because you are, but because you remembered that your life belongs to you. Syphoria, the intoxication of collective illusion. You feel it every time you scroll, every time you buy what you don't need, every time you smile while suffocating. You are surrounded by noise, but starving for truth, plugged into everything, yet deeply disconnected from yourself, entertained but never empowered. That is the cost of unexamined obedience. They don't want thinkers. They want followers. They don't want strength. They want stability, their kind of stability. Stability built on your conformity. The illusion of freedom is more effective than the threat of force. So they let you speak as long as it's safe. They let you vote as long as the options are the same. They let you dream as long as your dream fits inside their economy. You are free to be anything as long as it doesn't threaten the design. And here's the darkest part. They train you to police yourself. You censor your voice before anyone else does. You shrink your ambition before anyone critiques it. You mute your instincts before they become inconvenient. Because somewhere inside, you've internalized the idea that compliance equals survival. And in many ways it did. As a child, you learned that pleasing others meant safety, that quietness kept the peace, that being good meant being invisible. But you are no longer a child, and yet you still kneel like one to systems, to structures, to expectations that were never built for your freedom. Mindset is the battleground, and belief is the weapon. If they can control what you believe about yourself, they never have to control your actions, because you'll do it for them. You'll believe your value is in your productivity. You believe rest is laziness. You believe that your worth must be proven daily in achievements, in income, in obedience. You will believe that the cage is your home, that the leash is a necklace, that burnout is noble, that burnout is success. But belief is not truth. Belief is programming, and you have the right to rewrite it. Clarity is rebellion. To see the invisible bars, to name the manipulation, to realize that normal is not natural, it's designed. You are not broken because you don't fit this world. This world is broken because it was never built to fit you. It was built to keep you busy, distracted, divided, exhausted, because a tired mind doesn't question. A distracted soul doesn't rebel. A divided people are easier to control. That is the design to keep you obedient without you ever noticing you've been trained. Vision is how you break it. To dream outside their blueprint. To imagine without permission. To want more than you're allowed to say out loud. And yes, it will cost you. Clarity always does. You will lose comfort. You will lose approval. You will lose the illusion of belonging. But what you gain? You gain yourself. You gain your spine, your soul, your sovereignty. And you gain the unshakable knowing that you are not a machine. You are not a servant. You are not a pawn. You are a creator, a force, a being designed to expand, not obey. Purpose is what pulls you out. Not the purpose they gave you, not status, not titles, not applause. The true purpose, the kind that wakes you in the middle of the night, the kind that stirs something ancient in your bones, the kind that doesn't need validation because it is validation. When you reconnect to that purpose, the spell begins to break. You stop asking for instructions. You stop waiting for signs. You stop delaying your destiny. Because finally, you remember you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to wake up. And waking up isn't gentle. It's not some peaceful sunrise through linen curtains. It's a rupture, a collapse, a shaking loose of everything you once called truth. You'll see it in your career. The ladder you've been climbing leans against a wall you don't even believe in. You'll see it in your relationships, the people you surround yourself with love, your silence more than your soul. You'll see it in your routines, the rituals that were supposed to bring meaning now feel like cages you willingly walk into every morning. Because awakening is not the adding of new truths, it's the death of old illusions. And society, it thrives on illusion. It thrives on your forgetfulness. It thrives on the hope that you will never question the map, only keep walking the path. Discipline becomes your revolution. Not discipline for approval. Not the kind that earns praise from the system. The kind that builds inner fortitude. Discipline of thought. Discipline of boundaries. Discipline to walk alone when the herd demands your silence. Because obedience loves company. But freedom? Freedom often walks alone. You will have to face yourself without the noise. You will have to sit in the echo of your own voice and ask, do I even know who I am when I'm not performing? That question is terrifying, but it's also sacred. Because in that question, in that pause, you meet the real you, the one buried under 1,000 layers of expectation, programming, fear. And when you meet that version, you will realize why they taught you to fear solitude. Because solitude reconnects you to source, to intuition, to instinct, to something they cannot monetize or measure or mold. Action becomes your uprising, not loud, dramatic, chaotic action, but precise, intentional, unshakable action. The kind that doesn't wait for applause. The kind that doesn't need an audience. The kind that doesn't ask if it's allowed. You stop chasing permission and start being permission. Your life becomes the message. Your alignment becomes the protest. Your peace becomes the threat. Because nothing is more terrifying to a control-based system than a soul that no longer fears losing it. They lose their grip when you no longer need their reward. They lose their hold when your truth is louder than their noise. They lose their power the moment you stand up and say, I see you, and I choose me. Gratitude becomes your armor. Not passive gratitude, not the kind that says, I'll stay because at least I have something. But the kind that says, I am thankful for what I have, but I will not shrink to keep it. Gratitude for the clarity, gratitude for the shake-up, gratitude for the heartbreak that woke you up, because every betrayal sharpened your discernment. Every rejection cleared space for truth. Every disappointment peeled away the parts of you that were never real to begin with. And that kind of gratitude is not sweet. It's fierce. It's liberating. It reminds you that loss isn't punishment. It's pruning. You're not being cut down. You're being carved into something truer. Adaptability becomes your secret weapon. Not the kind of adaptability they trained into you where you bend for approval, but the kind that bends reality. You stop adapting to fit society. You start adapting society to fit your soul. You create, you question, you build systems that honor life, not profit. You become dangerous because you're no longer predictable. You're no longer programmable. You are no longer one of them. You are something else now. You are awake. And there is nothing more terrifying to a dying system than someone who can see through it and still walk with love, still speak with clarity, still move with purpose, still build while others obey. Resilience becomes your foundation because they will try to pull you back, not always with force, often with guilt, with you've changed, with you're so difficult now, with why can't you just be normal again? They will shame your transformation because it reminds them of their stagnation. Do not return to who you were. That version of you was surviving. This version, this one, is living. And it will hurt because rebirth always does. It will stretch you, break you, force you to choose solitude over sedation, truth over tradition, sovereignty over comfort. But on the other side of that pain is something you've never tasted before. Yourself, unfiltered, unowned, unshackled. You will become a living contradiction, silent but thunderous, grounded but untamed, compassionate but no longer compliant. You will walk through the same cities, past the same people, through the same conversations, and feel like a stranger because you no longer belong to the machine. You belong to the moment. And the moment you belong to yourself again, everything changes. Your energy no longer leaks. Your time no longer bleeds. Your life no longer bends to invisible masters. You become the architect of your thoughts, your path, your entire existence. And here is the final truth. You were never truly obedient. You were just afraid. Afraid to lose approval. Afraid to be seen. Afraid to stand alone. But fear is not a life strategy. It is a warning system, a teacher, a gatekeeper. And the moment you walk through it, really walk through it, you realize the only thing that ever kept you caged was the belief that you needed one. You are not here to obey. You are here to transform. So transform fully, fiercely, finally. Because once you transform, you become irreversible. You don't go back to the old table just because there's a seat. You don't crawl back into roles that require your silence. You don't dim the fire you had to walk through hell to ignite. You see with different eyes now, eyes that recognize conditioning, that decode manipulation, that spot the disguise of safety that's really just sedation. You speak in a new language, one that honors truth over comfort, depth over distraction, liberation over illusion. And suddenly, you're untouchable. Not because you're invincible, but because you're indivisible. The world can't fracture you anymore. The crowd can't drown you. Their opinions can't define you. You are no longer a fragment playing pretend in a house built on fear. You are whole. You are aware. You are dangerous in the most beautiful way. You don't follow the script anymore because you realized the script was never yours. It was handed to you by the culture, by institutions, by frightened people who learned obedience the hard way and passed it down like an heirloom. But you're here to break that lineage. You're not here to inherit trauma. You're here to interrupt it. You're not here to continue the tradition of self-sacrifice for acceptance. You're here to end it. Let them call you the black sheep. Let them say you lost your way. Because in truth, you found something far greater than their approval. You found yourself, the one who doesn't need to perform, the one who doesn't wait for cues, the one who doesn't ask, is it okay to be me now? You are done asking. You are done hoping, done shrinking, done playing by rules that were never designed to lead you to freedom. You don't need to be led anymore. You remember the compass inside your chest, and it points inward, always inward, to the sacred territory no system can colonize. Learning becomes your revolution now. Not academic learning, not regurgitated facts to please a system, but the kind of learning that rewires your existence. You start unlearning everything they told you was true. About power, about success, about love, about worth. You realize success isn't hierarchy, it's harmony. Love isn't sacrifice, it's sovereignty. Worth isn't earned, it's remembered. This is the education you were never given, the curriculum of awakening. And once you begin, you never stop. Every conversation becomes a test. Every room, a mirror. Every moment, a choice. Obedience or authenticity. Silence or soul. You no longer fear the question. You welcome it. Because your life now is a practice of conscious rebellion. Not against people, but against the unconsciousness that numbed you for years. You become a beacon, not by force, but by resonance. You walk into a room, and those still asleep feel the discomfort of your presence, because something in you reminds them of the freedom they buried. They will call you too much, too intense, too focused, too free. Wear it like armor. Because if your freedom doesn't disturb the obedient, it's not real freedom. You weren't made to blend in. You weren't made to dilute. You were made to disturb the silence, to speak what others suppress, to build what others only dream of, to become what they said was impossible. A soul fully awake in a world designed to keep you asleep. So here you are, standing at the edge of everything they told you to fear, and realizing it was never about fear. It was about control, but not anymore. From this moment forward, you live untethered, unhooked from the matrix of mental manipulation, unwilling to trade your fire for their formula. You see through the veil, and still you rise, still you love, still you build, still you breathe deeper than ever before, because nothing is more sacred than this. A mind you own, a heart that isn't edited, a spirit that bows to no one. This isn't rebellion. This is remembrance. This is what it means to be free. Finally, fully, forever,